What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Backdraft, directed by Ron Howard and starring an all-star cast that includes Kurt Russell, William Baldwin, Scott Glenn, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Rebecca De Mornay, Donald Sutherland, and Robert De Niro. Backdraft is loaded with talent. All right, so the overall story of Backdraft is this: Chicago firefighters are on the trail to find a serial arsonist. That is the entire plot line of Backdraft. So let's talk about it for a little bit now. I don't consider Backdraft to be a movie that you're going to watch and it's going to have this profound effect on you. To tell you the truth, Backdraft to me is just a good, solidly made action thriller. It has good character moments. It has thrilling, sequences involving the manipulation of fire and how they were able to handle that with a lot of their special effects. But from a story standpoint, this movie doesn't really have a whole lot to offer, but that's okay. This movie is not built on having a strong story. It's built on being a spectacle, and Ron Howard, I feel, accomplishes that in spades with Backdraft. Now, before I talk about casting and the acting and stuff like that, I want to talk about the special effects first because that's really what this movie is built upon. It's built upon its special effects sequences involving the manipulation of fire. And the scenes, they are truly, from 1991 standards, they are very awe-inspiring. Like what Ron Howard and his effects team did to create these fire sequences is anything but thrilling. Like they made these scenes look beautiful and horrific all at the same time. And I applaud them for that. Like they really did a fantastic job with the practical effects in this movie. It looks fantastic. The fire sequences are definitely the highlight of this movie. They're very, very thrilling, especially when you get to the last act of the movie, where they're in like this abandoned factory type of place that's covered with fire. Very, very thrilling. Very, very suspenseful. It's really good. Like it's very, very. It's. I'll say damn near brilliant in terms of special effects with this movie. So, from that standpoint, this movie is fantastic. Now, from a casting and acting standpoint, this movie is really good. Like I mentioned, it boasts a very good, solid cast. Uh, William Baldwin and Kurt Russell play these two brothers, Brian and Sean McCaffrey, respectively. I'm sorry, Brian and Stephen McCaffrey. Sean is Stephen's little son. I like the camaraderie and I like the relationship between Baldwin and Kurt Russell. I buy them as being siblings. I buy them as being siblings that have a rough history with one another, and you can tell that by the way Stephen treats his little brother Brian. He's very hard on him because Steve Brian wants to become a firefighter, following in their father's footsteps. Who was also played by Kurt Russell, who we see in the prologue, who was actually killed in a fire. And this is what inspires his sons to want to be firefighters. And again, the movie is really built on the relationship on these two brothers. And if Baldwin and Russell did not have the on-screen chemistry that they did have in this movie would have fallen really flat on its feet and would have had very little to offer aside from special effects. But to me, because I feel Russell and Baldwin did have good chemistry with one another, and I bought them as being rival siblings, their scenes work. And there's some of my favorite scenes in the whole movie because they really do have a really good rapport with one another, and they really have a natural ability to bounce off one another. William Baldwin's always been one of the more underrated Baldwin brother actors, and Kurt Russell. What can you say about Kurt Russell? He's just the man. Kurt Russell's just awesome, and yeah, their characters to me are my favorites. That doesn't mean that this movie's not devoid of any other bad characters. Robert De Niro plays a fire inspector named Rimgal. He's good in the role. He doesn't really have a whole lot to do, but the movie does tease that he has a relationship with the Donald Sutherland character, whose name is Roland, who was actually an arsonist that actually gave De Niro's character some heavy scars. And Sutherland, in a very, very creepy way, describes this. Would have actually liked to have seen a flashback to this because the way it's described, it could have been a very thrilling sequence, and it's a shame that it's only told to us through dialogue and exposition. Because I think you can make an entire movie based around the Donald Sutherland character and the Robert De Niro character. Because there's a lot of history between those two, and I would have liked to see more of that develop on screen, but we don't get that. And Donald Sutherland more or less comes across more as it's a cameo role and a red herring as to who's starting these arson fires to begin with. But I do like the entire scene I do like the whole parole hearing scene. It's really good stuff. Uh, Jennifer Jason Leigh, she plays the girlfriend of the William Baldwin character. I thought she was fine in the role. Her whole deal is that she's working with this Alderman Swayzak, played by the very grossly underrated T.J. Walsh. And I like T.J. Walsh as a character actor in this role, and I like him a little bit in this movie as well. Uh, his whole thing is that so pretty much the T.J. Walsh character is closing down fire departments so he can replace them with community centers, and because he's doing that, a lot of firefighters are pretty much risking their lives without backup and stuff like that. This is what leads to the Acox character, played by Scott Glenn, to pretty much kill off the people associated with Swayzak. So yeah, Scott Glenn is pretty much the A plays a Axe, who's pretty much the one committing these fires. And I actually like the character of Scott Glenn because he's presented more or less as a surrogate father to the McCaffrey brothers. I would have liked to have seen some more scenes developing that relationship. Especially, I would like to see more scenes with Acox and the and the father McCaffrey character having more scenes together, pretty much strengthening their bond. But in the little scenes we do get, okay, I buy it enough. Scott Glenn is a talented actor, and Kurt Russell and William Baldwin are talented enough to make it feel passable. But I'd like to see more scenes with them having more of a strong bond. Though they do get some good moments here and there, like Russell and Glenn get a really good moment in the hospital where they're getting into a verbal fight with one another, and then we get to the last act of the movie where the Russell and Scott Glenn are pretty much having an argument, and Scott Glenn's character pretty much confesses that he's the one who committed all these arsons and murders. And this is what lists the entire climax of the movie, which is a very, very thrilling and suspenseful third act. I like it a lot. And I like everything else in between of this movie as well. I like the bonding. I like how William Baldwin, gives up being a firefighter for a little bit to work with the Rimgall character and work for the state of Chicago for a little bit. I think the romance between him and Jennifer Jason Leigh is a little bit underdeveloped. I don't think it really goes anywhere, despite just having one sex scene on top of a fire truck. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I think the relationship is just superficial at best. I don't think it's not really the best developed relationship in the whole movie. Though I think the relationship between Rebecca De Mornay, who pretty much plays the ex-wife of Stephen, I think their relationship is a little bit more better since they have a fractured marriage, and Stephen is trying to rebuild a relationship, so to speak, but his wife is hesitant because Stephen's very, very reckless as a firefighter, and he answers the call of danger more often than he should, knowing that he has a wife and a little son named Sean who admires him and wants him around more often. So I actually like that relationship. I think that relationship is much more better played out and better written, and it does have a tragic ending to it since the Stephen character does die at the end of this film, succumbing to his wounds because of what happened in the third act of the movie. So to me, that's very satisfactory because Stephen does die, but in the end, Brian ends up taking the mantle of his father and brother and continues being a firefighter. So it has a very somber yet satisfactory ending, to me at least, because the McCaffrey name will live on. And and as a way to save face with the fire department, Brian pretty much hides the fact that Acox was behind everything, as a way to preserve the integrity of the fire department. So I like it. I think it ends on a good note. All right, so from story and acting standpoint, this movie it is good. It's very solid. From a production standpoint, I like the overall look of this movie. The cinematography is the cinematography is well done. Ron Howard does a very economical job with this film. He's not a visually stunning director, but he's a director who knows how to do his thing, and he knows how to make a movie look good and make it look watchable. And from a directing and cinematography standpoint, that's what this movie is. When Ron Howard is showing his dynamics, that's when he's showcasing the fire special effects sequences. That's where Ron Howard really excels as a visual artist. Other than that, this movie is visually pleasing to the eye. It's it's good cinematography. It's very, very well done, and you can see everything. All right, so with all that said and done, I'm going to give Backdraft a solid 8 out of 10. I highly recommend this movie. I think it's really damn good. And if you have not seen Backdraft, give it a watch, because I think you'll enjoy it. It's very entertaining. So Those are my thoughts on Backdraft. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.